Hello everyone, welcome back. We are finally live again. Today we are designing something super duper awesome, a complete luxury one-page website, which I'm super duper happy about because a lot of the different elements that we're going to be talking about today are just very limited to the scale of a one-page site. It's a luxury site and you can use it wherever you want, including in your portfolio. And so this is going to be a completely awesome video. Let's get started. Before we begin, I just wanted to show you what we're going to be designing today, because today we're going to be designing a completely awesome one-page travel luxury site. It's just so fun to make. So just check this out. Check it out. The hero section, already a really good divide, a video on the side, a whole perfect thing going on. And then you have the very clear, very white space heavy our commitment section. I've been very focused on white space and white space heavy designs recently. We also have unmatched experiences. This is one of the nicest sliders ever. And we also have the join us section. I haven't done a join us section that's very classic and very modern like this in a while, so this is going to be fun. And also we're going to be designing what our clients say. Testimonials is such an important part of what we're designing, and this is that. So when you have a bunch of these users who all have used your product, one of the best things you can do to attract more clients is to just advertise what the users have already said. And so this is going to be the perfect video on that. With that said, the next one that we're making is the UI for our mailing list, which I think is quite innovative considering everything that is done these days to get users to join mailing lists. This is pretty nice, all things considered. We also have the very end, the modern complete footer with a sitemap, all of the different links at the bottom, and the name of the site, just bringing the user to a final message, a final call to action. And with that is the UI that we're going to be designing today. So let's get started. The very first thing you need to do is obviously have Figma installed. If you don't yet have Figma installed, just go over to the top, click on add a new file, create a new design file, and you can just find this entire UI right here. So in case you're looking for one of the best color palettes to use right now as you're getting your design journey started, I would recommend going to veerashrivastava.com, which is my site, but we have a very limited edition, 50 of the best color palette selections going on right now, and it's available completely for free, so why miss out? With that said, let's just jump into it. So the very first thing you obviously need to do is have your very own frame, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to select the frame at the bottom, and then you can select any of these preset frame options. You can also select a custom option, but the advantage you have with desktops with these frames set in the desktop section is when you are finally presenting your UI, you end up with a UI that's operating inside of this really nice laptop mockup, which really helps when you're actually doing a lot of things and you want to explain to your clients really quickly what exactly is going on over here. So just say hi in the chat and let's get started. The very first thing we're going to do is obviously create a new frame. I'm just going to use a MacBook Air because I feel like I haven't done that in a while. What's the case with that? Weird. That aside, now we're going to make a header. Of course we are. Just go over to the bottom, create a new frame, make this big, make this wide, align it perfectly in the center, and we're just going to use a common width and height, align this in the center with this button, add a fill. And at this point, since we're designing a very modern, very minimalistic site, I feel like we don't have to worry about rushing into how gray things are, how colored things are. Let's just align everything perfectly in the center. And we're also going to add a border radius. Let's just line this over completely. So now that we're talking about the border radiuses for the header, I feel like we have two options. Either you could go 100% rounded off, which looks okay, but at the end of the day, it has a little bit of a border radius and mixing it issue, and it does look a little bit weird from a presentation point of view. But, and this is the one I prefer, you could reduce the corner radius down to this 14-15 small number, and I feel like this would function so much better, and I want to show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to prototype this now, and you'll see why the stuff that we're making is much better than the stuff we came up with in the beginning. And so I just wanted to bring that out here. So this is much cleaner finish than this, which is just really rounded off and then a rounded rectangle, and it's just weird and heavy. All right, with that aside, I do want to talk about the fonts that we're using today, because today's fonts are a special collection. So the second font you already know about. This is a common sans serif font, but the first font is the one that I'm really, really happy about, which is DM serif text. This is the font that we're going to be talking about today. I'm the biggest fan of this font, and if you've only used Playfair Display in your serif fonts journey, I feel like this is the great second font after Playfair Display, because of course I love Playfair Display, of course the italics are amazing. Who would not agree with us? All right. The second font is obviously Inter, because who doesn't love Inter? Inter works with just about everything. Thank you for the hundreds in the chat. Let's get started. So the very first thing we're going to do is add the name of the brand. So I'm using Luxury Travel Co as a placeholder, but if you guys suggest a title, I'll use it. It can be silly, it can be fun. If you guys just in the live chat suggest any title for this brand, I will use it. I'm just all okay with using any name at this point. It's just open up. What name should I use? Let's just use Luxury Travel Co, but this is a placeholder, guys. So just give me any names. Luxury Travel Co. As I'm saying this, I'm realizing if no one submits anything, and then when later people come to watch this video, it's just going to be really, really embarrassing as a whole, because there is no comment, and I do want good options, you guys. So come on. Leave something in the chat. All right, the font that we're changing this to is DM serif display. Wow, DM serif display or DM serif text? I feel like you could go with either, because there is a difference between both. DM serif display is a little bit cleaner, a little bit more edgier. DM serif text is easier on the eyes. So this is a very, very clear difference that you finally see when you're doing this. This is display and this is text. Text is more casual, more usable for a one-page website where you're doing things in a minimal way while still keeping it really, really specific. So I feel like this is where we'll just stay with things. Let's make this bigger. Let's change this to 32, align it perfectly in the center, and with that, you guys, we have a name. How amazing is that? I do want to change this gray to a lighter blue sort of, maybe stay in the middle. So I do want to wrap my head around that. You can make this as gray as you want to, but always having a light tint of blue and grays helps with the whole luxury aspect, and helps buy into the idea of this is a tad more luxury. So if you stuck with this border, it would be gray, but if you go ahead and sort of mix the colors, and this is where this stuff gets really interesting, when you're sort of messing in this territory, now the blue has a little bit of influence, and I feel like this just adds a level of the detail that you wouldn't usually get. This is such a pro tip. With that said, I do feel like this is too dark. Anyways, let's add a bunch of subheadings for this UI. Destinations, our story, luxury, packages. The font that we're using obviously is Inter, because we've been using it for a whole bunch of times, and you could do DM serif text a little bit more, but I feel like we're all serif fonted out for the moment, because you can't overuse serif fonts. You just can't. It's just going to look horrible, and it's going to be there. By the way, are you guys on Twitter? Because I've been posting a lot there recently, and it's honestly quite fun because you don't have to work as hard. Because when you're creating a video, there is a whole bunch of things that goes into the back end, just getting the UI ready, and then getting the stream ready, and then just being there all the time, and you can't do it in your pajamas. So this Twitter thing, I am actually starting to love. So who knows? If you're on Twitter, just follow me there, because I've just started a new thing and it's just everything that I'm doing now. Luxury packages. Even when I can't come live sometimes, which happens once a month, I'm always on Twitter, which is amazing. I just discovered how awesome Twitter can be, especially if you're in the tech community recently. So I'm just enjoying Twitter while I still can. I also feel like my schedule, I'm sorry for oversharing, but my schedule will get hectic in the next couple of months, which means I need to post as much as I can on Twitter, because it's a numbers game. It really is a numbers game. On YouTube, I feel like you can do quality, and then you can just get away with a lot. Am I boring you guys with this talk? Just let me know if I'm boring you. Just say B for boring if this gets boring at any time. But I'm just adding a little bit of an auto frame and then just adjusting it. But to be honest, YouTube gets really, really hectic, because when you're in the middle of 3 different videos, which I currently am, it's just too much. But I recently discovered Twitter, and it's awesome. But I also know that in the next couple of months, my schedule is going to get really, really busy due to a bunch of events, and so I just wanted to get as much Twitter out there as I can. I'm at 1200 posts now, which is awesome, but also I realized for most tech creators it actually takes a lot more than that to get to a good point, which is wow, weird. This is so weird, the whole Twitter thing for me. I never was very active on Twitter. I joined a couple of years ago, but I don't know why. And there's so many great people on there. Like you will find the greatest programmers and the greatest designers all active on Twitter, and I'm like the last person at this point to join, which is freaking me out because I was also always there as a viewer, but now it's just, wow, that was too much. Now we're going to design our Tito section. So let's get a frame. How do we get a frame? Let's create a simple frame, and I feel like we're doing a frame instead of a rectangle because a video and then having the play button inside of that video is all going to get dynamic really, really fast. So you want things to be as clean and as contained as possible, which is why, because we know we're going to be doing this button and this ring around the button, we want to take care of all of those issues as a whole. Wow, I didn't come live yesterday, which was weird, but we've made a new decision on this channel, which I'm happy about. At some point, I'm going to be doing a podcast. I did have a podcast before this channel ever came into play. It was called the DevFast Podcast, but we had to stop for a bunch of reasons. This time we're not going to stop, but this is going to be a limited edition series. So I'm really, really happy about that. What makes you really, really happy? Leave that in the chat. It's just, I am particularly gossipy today, which is amazing. We're just entering an image from Lumi. So you're just going to go down over here and you're going to enter an image from Lumi. So let's also add a border radius. I feel like for everyone who watches this video as a replay later on, I do want to hear all of your weird gossip as I'm making this up, because even if it's in the comments, I will still reply, at least on this video, I promise you, even though I'm trying to answer all comments at all times. All right, let's also add a button. So let's just go to the bottom and also get a triangle for us. This is a polygon. Let's just add a polygon, and now we're going to rotate this 90 degrees, which is awesome. Wow, I feel like we did the wrong 90, which is also a thing. So let's just fix that. Add a border radius, make it rounded off, make this smaller absolutely. Zoom in, make this a little bit bigger, align it completely in the center, and now we're going to change this to white. So the play button itself needs to be white, but once that is taken care of, you can add a ring, and then that can be not limited to sizes at all. Does anyone want to know some things that I'm doing recently? Just type T in the chat if you want to hear about a bunch of things, because I have so many cool things I want to talk about, and no one I know in real life wants to talk about those things that are related to design and this channel. So just type T in the chat, please. There is so much gossip, which I don't usually do, but today you're getting it all. Why am I so chatty today? This is so weird. We're over around 80 live streams on this channel, and I'm still freaked out at how weird this whole thing is. I'm still freaked out. With that said, let's reduce the opacity of white, because we did want a see-through kind of button. So this has to be a little bit clearer over here. And also this image in itself, the image that we were using for the frame, needed to have a black overline. So you're just going to add a fill, and then that's going to give you 20% black fill. With that said, this frame actually looks awesome. You could reduce the button size. In fact, we probably should, but as a whole, it actually looks fine. And you could have used a rectangle over here. You absolutely could have, but the frame does more justice to the rectangle and the play button, and if you want to carry that along with you on many, many different occasions. And now we're going to decide on the hero text and stuff like that. So why did I say stuff like that? This is so weird. We're going to type out explore the world in style. Explore the world in style. Let's just zoom in, and we're going to change this to be a capital S. And now we're just going to add an E at the end. Make sure the font says DM Sans Display or DM Sans Text. Both are fine. And then we're going to increase the size up to a 96. At the end of the day, both DM Sans Serif and DM Sans Text are awesome choices, but I would stick to text just because it's more casual. So if you're doing a one-page site, DM Sans Text, that's it. If you're doing a two-page site or a multiple-page site, DM Sans Display is the way to go. And these are just like fonts that you use hundreds of times, and then all you can do is remember their name. By the way, do you guys know about the font Papyrus? Anuj Kumar says Acha. I'm not sure what Acha is, so I am a little bit wondering what was Acha about. This is so weird because I'm blabbing about a bunch of things and people just don't know. So awesome. Let's change this to 84 because we want this to be as big as possible. By the way, we have some new things we need to talk about other than UIs. So if you guys want to learn about those, just type T in the chat. I know I'm just doing this a lot. Let's also add a description for this video. So this description is going to be huge, which I'm not going to be typing out because of course, if I type out, each of you will leave. I know that. Everyone leaves when I start typing, but I'm not going to leave you out on the weird road. Let's just copy and paste this down here again. And then we're going to right click and paste it here and match. Wow, I did not copy the text. Let's just copy this text, go over here, paste and match style. And once we've done that, we're going to change the font to Inter because Inter is the font that we're using with DM Sans Display. Thank you. We're going to change the size to, what are we changing the size to? 20. Yes, absolutely. Let's change this to 20. And if you want to, you can bring this down to 18. That's fine as well. Completely fine. Let's also change the color to a gray. So let's just bring this down to a weird gray. Any gray is fine as long as it's lighter. And that's the thing with luxury sites. You are not going to rely on black and white purely unless it's a very extremist site and a dark mode heavy site. You're going to have a lot to do with grays, and that just needs to settle in your mind. When someone says luxury, you're going to go with goldens and grays and silvers, and they're going to be there more often than you'll see normal other colors. So black and white is always going to be there, but grays and all of those weird tones in the middle are something that you need to get comfortable with if you're designing for luxury. And you are supposed to be designing for luxury because that is where the money is. People won't entirely agree to this, but if you decide on the industries that you're working with, you'll automatically have a better idea of the money that you're getting. And this is particularly true for freelance in my experience. We're going to copy this text and bring this down to over here, and then we're going to change the text to say, start your journey. Start your journey. All right, let's bring this to a smaller size, right click and frame the selection, zoom in, add a fill. For some reason, why did I add a fill before I added not a layout? Don't do that. Go over here, add a layout, increase the padding on the left and right, increase the padding at the top and bottom, also add a border radius because if you don't, all the worlds are going to fall apart. But also you're going to add a yellow or golden, something really bright, something that just gets your attention right away. I do want this to be a little bit in the direction of orange because blue and orange are opposite on the color wheel, and it makes sense to pair orange with blue. But also yellow and gold are just very luxury heavy, so if you want to go in that whole field you can, or you can just type out over here gold, and that's just going to give you your perfect color. Don't do anything, just type out gold over here. And the reason this is working is because HTML, which is magic of code, basically, if you're a designer, is coded, pre-coded with a bunch of colors, which if you enter right here in Figma, you'll get access to. So that's just a good color hack. We are going to change this font to a more weighted one. Let's just bring this up to a semi-bold. And I also feel like we need to change the color as well because yellow and white is just freaking me out now. You could make this darker or you could make this thinner. You know what, this looks fine. Also, we need to add a border radius that is similar to the border radius at the top because border radiuses that are similar work together. Exactly, they do. And then this is around 14, so we need to make this slightly rounded off and just copy this number sometimes. Sometimes you don't need to put a lot of head into it. Just copy whatever the number is. Just 14 is fine. And now that we have a bunch of things, we need to just align them perfectly. Make them work. That's it. Just make them work. You can make things completely rounded off, but the exception here is if your title is completely rounded off, you need to make your buttons completely rounded off, and then the aesthetic will work much better. And so since we're not doing that, since we're making the title as well a little bit rounded rectangle, not entirely pill shaped, then this button actually makes sense with the UI that we're making. You could make the font size just a little bit larger because I do want to do that, but there is a couple of things that you need to know. Whenever you make the font size larger, you also need to reduce the line height because larger font size always equals to larger line height no matter what font you're using. And sometimes you need to reduce the spacing between the letters as well. And when you do that, this is the option, by the way, for spacing between letters. You get access to so much stuff, and sometimes you can increase line heights but reduce text spacing, and it saves so much space. So we're just going to select all of these, press shift to select multiple things at the same time. Never ever forget that in Figma. It's like the one thing you need to know. Why is my computer lagging today? This is so weird. Is live streaming really that heavy? I have no idea now. This is awesome. We're going to add an auto layout because we have 3 different elements and 2 different spaces, and everything needs to be equally spaced all the time. So we're just going to change this to hug content, and width and height need to be at hug content, and in most cases with auto layout. That's always the case. We're also going to add a bunch of trusted by brands because, of course, the herd mentality is always going to be there, and you need to understand it as a UI UX designer because you need all of these people to subscribe. So let's just add the word trusted by, and then we're going to focus on how do we get so many complete logos on here for free. So that's also an interesting thing to cover, because almost in every single case you are going to need some amount of experience building out testimonials and stuff, and this is really perfect for that purpose. Let's just select this text, make this a little bit thicker. Let's go up to bold, align this over here perfectly, reduce the font size to 16, and now we're going to do a bunch of logos, which we're going to get down here from the bottom. We're going to change this to say Iconify, and then we're going to get a bunch of logos. So Iconify does hold a massive library of logos, and you are almost always fine. So it has a bunch of licenses related to logos and icons, which is MIT, Apache, and CC icons are usually okay to use. So you need to maybe see some of those agreements, but as long as the license says MIT, Apache, or CC0, you're going to be fine. And that is the case for most UIs over here. So we're going to search for Slack because I remember that being the case. We need the complete Slack UI. This is the one. I could use the colored one, or I could use the one which is black and white. I am going to stick with the black and white one because we want entire color schemes to be controlled by us and not random color schemes off of the internet. We're going to get colored versions as well, but we're going to change those colors back to what we need them to be. We're also going to search for Dropbox because, of course, if Dropbox trusted you, you would put it out there. You know what? Let's also search for Webflow. So some of these you might have to go to internet to get your logos for, but I feel like we're just going to get one of these icons over here, and then we're going to get the text for Webflow as well, which is awesome. Can we also do Framer? I feel like Framer and Webflow are competitors, but I couldn't find the Dropbox image. So what other images do we get? We could get what other image? Let's get Microsoft because I feel like that would be easy to do. This is Microsoft, and I wanted to talk about a couple of things that are happening on this channel as I'm resizing these logos. This is really interesting stuff. Yesterday I ran a poll on this channel about whether we should do a podcast, and almost all of you were really excited. So no one said no. Some people, most people said yes, and then some people said I'll look at the list of things that you're covering, and that is a really positive response in my book. I'm changing the color of everything to black, by the way, just to match our theme. With that said, we are going to do a podcast, but it's going to be limited season. So it's like this really fun thing that you can sort of binge listen to. I wanted to do podcasts for a really long time, but didn't because this channel was coming up and then a bunch of things needed to be sorted. But now I feel like we're at a point where we can easily get that in and still be happy. Do any of you guys actively listen to podcasts while doing something? Because I will get so much stuff done just putting one thing on, and sometimes I don't even like the podcast because sometimes I don't even want to know what the topic is about. I don't even like the topic, but listening to people yap for an hour straight will get me to do so much stuff that I would never get done otherwise, or just dread as a whole, and that includes cooking. So if this is awesome, I do want to do a podcast, but last time I did a podcast, it was audio only, which was such a horrifying factor for me because the camera equipment and everything was just not there. And so now I do want to have a video with it as well, which is something I personally wanted to add for such a long time. So hopefully we'll have something nice come up. by the end of April. I don't know about the dates yet, but I feel like April is the time that's tentative about everything. And then we're going to bring this down as a size. And I feel like once you size one of these icons at the right amount, and now you have the full free ability to just bring things up. And now you can just adjust everything to have the perfect size that you want it to have. Let's zoom this up, add this perfectly over here, and we're going to get the Microsoft logo in here as well for some reason. I have no idea if this is going to fit, but let's just pray it does, because of course we need it to fit. And by the way, I'm not squooshing any of these logos around because I'm pressing the shift key all the time, so you need to do that as well. Also, we need to make sure all of these have an equal amount of spacing between them, and auto layouts are sometimes difficult in these cases because this is a squared off frame. These are manual and more visual frames. I feel like we need to remove the frame that's going on over here. Change the frame to a group and your problem is solved. Change this group to a frame and your problem is solved yet again. And now we're going to select all of them, add an auto layout just because we need equal spacing and horizontal alignment as well. And then we're going to just put that right there. These two, trusted by, and then the links are just really similar and need to be together no matter what. We're going to reduce the font size to 14 and then just group them together. So that's happening. Add an auto layout just to make everything automatically aligned and perfect. And then we're going to add another auto layout between this group and this group. And auto layouts just let you have so much control over the spacing. The only issue I ever had with auto layouts is they did not let you pop out a single element, but you can now do that with this button, which is ignore auto layout. And then you can just move stuff around inside of an auto layout wherever you want to. This is like my favorite magic button ever. With that said, let's just go over to the top. Wow, am I missing all messages? No, I'm not. We have successfully created the hero section for our 1 page long site. So how many of you are happy about that? Because I'm really happy. By the way, does anyone want to know a cool fact that we're doing on this channel? Anyone want to know anything cool? Because I have a bunch of cool things. As soon as you guys want to know anything cool, I want to talk about so much stuff, and I'm just not, because I'm afraid it's just going out of topic. So if anyone's interested in out of topic, we can do that as well. Next, we're designing this very simplistic our commitment section, and I feel like the reason we needed to make a separate segment in this video is because you are having a couple of images at the top and bottom, but these images are not the center of this UI, so you don't have a clean screen as well. You have a couple of elements that are describing that there's something going on at the top and there's something going on at the bottom, but there is enough space for this to scream luxury. So when you're doing luxury sites, there is going to be a difference that you need to realize when you're making things like these. With that said, let's go in to this UI. So I am going to type out our commitment, and then I'm going to show you a really cool color hack with making color schemes and just getting colors in Figma really quickly. So I'm just going to change the font to DM Sans Text, which is the font we're using. Increase this size to be 96. You know what, let's just bring this size 94, which is fine. And then we're going to go over to the colors, change this color to say golden rod. And then that's it. That's the color that we're using. It's just that simple. These auto-fed colors inside of Figma and most other HTML-based UIs are just amazing stuff. All right, the next thing we're doing is we strive to create unforgettable journeys, something. So we're going to copy some text, go down here to the, wow, where did I go? Just go down here to the bottom, copy this text, and then just type some stuff out. So just paste some, wow, I did not see that coming. We're going to just copy this element because styling might be an issue. And then I highly encourage you to pause this video, type it out, copy this text, right click, and we're going to paste it here and match our styles. Now we're going to change this to the font Inter, and it's genuinely much easier to use the colors that are already here in this palette, just so we have a little bit of consistency across our UI. Let's also reduce the font size, because of course we need to reduce the font size. By the way, you guys, we are so close to 1,000 subscribers. How are we not a group of 1,000 yet? Just subscribe down below. I'm not only urging you, I'm also demanding it, because come on, we're just so close. Why are we not 1,000 yet? This is awesome. All right, let's just make this thinner and just make it adjust perfectly. I also feel like the font spacing kerning between all of these characters could just be improved a little bit. So I want to bring that to a -3%. You could change the font weight to semi-bold, or you could do something interesting, which is apply variable font. Wow, what did I just do? We're just going to go over here and type out variable font axes, and then you can reduce the slant or increase it if you want to, and you can also make these as thick as you want to. And I would want to test out this slant feature with Outfit, because Outfit never came. Outfit is the greatest font ever, and it never ever came with a preset option and preset option to slant text. And I also want to talk about one really cool font hack. So when you're zooming in, sometimes, let's say if I was in a situation where I couldn't change the font weight, because that happens sometimes. If you can't change the font weight, if you just increase the spacing between letters, it's going to look like a thinner font weight than it actually is. And if you can't increase the font weight for some reason, and then you decrease the amount of spacing between each single character, then it looks thicker than it actually is. So that's just a really cool visual effect if you are looking for those. Wow. Wouldn't it be awesome to have a bunch of really cool visual effects to talk about on this channel? It would be. Does anyone want to know more cool visual effects? Just type V in the chat and we'll talk about those. All right, let's just zoom in. With that said, I feel like we are pretty close to our commitment section. Let's just shift this above and then shift this down as well. All right, the next thing we're doing is unmatched experiences tailored just for you. You could create your own text box, but you could also just copy these and then change the styling and everything. I prefer the second one, honestly, and you will too when you start designing heavily. And this video, today's video, is the site to make if you want to get into luxury freelance and that side of things, because we're covering so many important principles, so many invaluable principles, which you would find in a course, by the way, that I just think you should do this one. Just pause the video, go get your Figma and just make this entire thing out yourself. All right, we're going to type out unmatched experiences, and then that needs to be typed out over here. One other thing that we need to do is take care of the alignment, because this is aligned to the center, but we need alignment to the left, which needs to be done as well. So we're going to align this to the left. This is already left aligned. Reduce the font size to A64. Wow, look at me. I can type without looking at the screen. I'm amazing. I'm really not. You know what? Just kidding, I am. We're going to reduce the font size over here to 20. Shooting Lyrics says we. What? Wow, I forgot what I said something about talking about we. Visual. Oh yes, I needed to. I'm so sorry for this. I'm in a state of amnesia now. Someone call a doctor. My point is visual. What was visual? Wow, I cannot remember what I just said. Tailored. When I'm typing and speaking, this is exactly what happens. This is why I copy and paste stuff. This is why I can't do both. What was we? There was something called we. Tailored just for you. For you. Visual effects for luxury design. Of course, we're going to have a video on that. Visual effects for luxury design. I feel like I need to note that down, because otherwise I'm going to forget. So we're going to do a video on visual effects for luxury UIs. With that said, let's reduce the line height, because when you either reduce the line height or reduce the space between each individual font, you make a font look heftier, thicker, more bulked up than it actually is, which is also a really cool visual effect. With that done, let's just bring this over here. And I feel like today we're just playing around with going to town on spacing between each alphabet, kerning, letter spacing, all of that stuff. I love it. I hope you do as well. All right, the next thing we're building out is an actual slider. So number one, we need to get images for the slider. Where are we going to get images for our slider? We are going to go back. Hold on, this needs to be changed to black. Type out black and that's just black for you. Awesome. All right, we're just going to get a bunch of cards. Wow, I feel like I just made this too thin. This is good enough. This is good enough for me, sir. We're just going to align this perfectly over here, and then we're going to make a bunch of cards. Is anyone on Twitter? Can you just type T if you're on Twitter? Can anyone just please type T if you're on Twitter, because I have a Twitter story to share, please. Please, humans, please. We're just going to change this image to have a border radius. Reason being, we have committed to a border radius at the top, and then at the hero image, and then at the hero call to action button. When you're committing to border radiuses, commit to border radiuses in every single place, people. So you're just going to go down here now, go down to Lumi or search for Lumi if you have to, and then search for luxury images, because of course we like to see luxury. That's awesome. And we're going to get a bunch of images that we like. So we're also doing that. Is YouTube and Twitter really a different audience? I do want to know. Any of you guys on Twitter, just type N if you're not, and I'll be okay. I will be sad, but I will be okay. Is there any other image that we can add for this one? So I'm just copy and pasting images at this point. Shooting Directs is on Twitter. Wow. So if you're on Twitter, go follow me on Twitter after the stream, or just right now, because I have been so active on Twitter and I'm awesome over there. I'm just posting so much and it's just all very real stuff. And at first it was just really difficult. I'm just copying and pasting text, by the way. At first it was so difficult for me to just actually come up with tweets, but recently I'm killing it. This is amazing. But also I feel like every person who's listening, every person who sees us in that community is relating to design content as a whole. So I went to the group of web developers and software engineers and all of those people the other day, and I do have a little bit of web development, software engineering sort of background, but I did not expect the level of UI UX positive feedback that they have over here. Wow, I can't type personalization. I'm just copying text, by the way. I was surprised. So the other day I went to Twitter, and guess what I found? I've joined a bunch of communities, including not just UI UX communities, but also communities of software developers and just software engineers, hardcore degree sort of people, and also web developers and startup communities as well for some reason. And then I realized all of these people can heavily benefit from inherent UI UX principles. So I started posting topics that are related to UI UX design, and anyone and everyone who's interested in branding and coming out looking more professional, whether it's freelancers, whether it's community professionals, everyone was interested, and it blew my mind. Which goes to show you, even if at some point you are bored with your career in UI UX design 5-6 years down the line, you can always go into other communities. You can always educate people, whether they're in the startup community, whether they're in a community where they're doing their own business, whether it's a software development community. And by software development, I mean game development, I mean app development, I mean website development, I mean the whole damn spectrum. I am primarily a web developer, but you can go to any of those communities, as I did, and you can get immediate a lot of positive feedback, which goes on to tell you the skills that you're learning in this stream and the skills that you're learning on this channel and in UI UX design as a whole are very transferable. So the knowledge that comes out of you once you've learned this stuff, it's something that people relate to a lot, especially in the tech spectrum as a whole. You don't have to rebrand it as UI UX, because sometimes UX design becomes a scary topic for people, and it has a lot of things that are complicated. But if you just give them the principles, they are getting interested to the point where I think, given the right circumstances, they would pay us UI UX designers for more of that kind of either knowledge or implementation, which leads us to think that there is a lot of freelance opportunity there, and also there is a lot of opportunity as consultants. So that was a mind-blowing piece of knowledge that I just found out thanks to Twitter. And if you want to learn more about the awesome things that I'm telling people over there, just follow me on Twitter, because it's awesome. It's so awesome. Twitter recently has changed a lot from the pre-Elon Musk times, but I am supportive of the way things are going over there right now. So it's yes, you pay for getting verified on Twitter, and that's an okay feature for creators, and that's okay as a person who's going beyond a certain number and now you just want more and more exposure over there. But I feel like it's just getting really, really good for the tech community as well. Just putting it out there. Even if you haven't been very, very active on Twitter, it would be awesome. So I was, most of the comments that I get on Twitter, most of the very constructive comments that I get are from software engineers, from the software engineering community. And as a whole, there is a bigger software engineering community on Twitter than there is a UI UX community, which means there is a fewer of you, which means more demand, less supply. You are the person getting paid more, if that makes sense. And obviously, if you're a beginner, this might not be individually applicable. This might not individually give you a lot of money in the first week of doing Twitter or in the first week of just being in the software development community, but in the long run of things, that is profitable for you. And being on Twitter, being active, maybe posting some things, and I'm not inspiring you to be a YouTuber and just quit everything and then just do exactly what I'm doing, although it's pretty great. But even if you're active on Twitter, it's pretty awesome. Just can someone debate me on that? It's pretty awesome. All right, we're going to reduce the font weight to regular, because obviously this is a bunch of text that needs to be reduced to a font weight. And then we're just going to copy and paste this text and add it over here, and we're going to change this text again. So we're just going to copy and paste this text back over to where we were working with. Check it. Wow, I did not copy the entire text, did I? How am I getting worse progressively at copy and pasting text? How is that even possible? I did web development, and then I also did UI UX design, software development of all sorts, and then for some reason I can't copy paste till date. This is so weird, and it blows my mind. It's just, wow, why? I feel like we just overdid it on the spacing between fonts, but it actually looks quite nice. So over and all, it's actually a good thing. Let's change this to 74, because of course a little bit bigger would be a little bit better. And now we're just going to give it a bunch of white space. So here's the thing with luxury UIs. Every single time you're designing a luxury UI, white space is your friend. And I feel like I need to say this screaming, because people don't realize it. And then luxury websites look like botched playground horrors. So it's just... Ugh. Now we're designing the best, the most important, the most modern sign up section. This section you will find all over the internet. This section has a couple of complexities. This section is the prerequisite if you're doing freelance. This section is what the client wants from you. You could go heavy with the design stuff, but the client automatically wants something like this if you're doing the UI UX design for some project. And this is the thing, that if you just copy and paste from over here, just change this image. Just don't do anything else. Change this image in the background. And you will know how to change images after this video. That's it. That's just it. It's just that much. And you can get freelance jobs with just this much knowledge of this whole sign up section. And might I add, sign up is the most important section, because that is where people become clients for your clients. So if that makes sense, the people who are buying from the person whose site you're designing cares most about this section, because the people who are buying from that guy are signing up through here. Every single paid customer is coming in through this wall, which is why this is so important, and which is why this is so crazy that you can just design this at once and then that's it. That's all the knowledge you need in the modern spectrum of UI UX design. And this is very universal as opposed to just luxury specific. Like, this is all over the internet, and it's not specific to luxury. It's just every single freelance job will ever always require you to know this next section that we're designing. It's actually pretty awesome, which is why I needed to do a whole rant about it. All right, let's add a fill, and this fill can be a color, just so you know where you're working with. Align this shape perfectly in the center. Pay attention now, because this is the awesome stuff. And then we're going to go down to the bottom, search for Lumi if you don't have that yet. And then when you found Lumi, now we're going to get a image for us. So let's just get any casual image for us. That's the point. We're doing a casual image in the not a casual person, a casual environment image in the background. And a casual, and I want to talk about context a little bit. If you were doing a sunglasses website, then you would want a sunglass image or something related over here, a guy wearing sunglasses. But since this is a luxury UI, the image is the only thing that's changing. So we're going to get a luxury image, and then we're just going to get it over here, anything luxury at all, and that's it. So just search for something that's nice, search for something that's luxury, and just give this a moment. You can even add watches. It's just stupid to not add an image that you can. And once that is done, once it just gives the whole luxury vibe, doesn't even need to be perfect, now you can focus on the actual sign up wall, which is very important. Go into the center, add a frame, just make this as big as you can. This has to be a rectangle, by the way. This frame is also going to be white, and we are committed to the border radiuses. So that's another important story that we need to tell ourselves. The border radiuses always need to be there. at a huge number because we have committed to this here and here and here and here and here. So 5 different places. When you commit to border radiuses, you have to commit to them every single occasion you now can. With that done, now we're going to design the word join up, take first step. And these are just copy and paste from at the top. Like, this is just that simple. Can anyone else actually feel how simple it is to do a couple of these 100 days of UI live streams from the channel's playlists and then just get started in the freelance market? Does anyone else feel that it's just this simple? Because I do. I honestly do. The way we've simplified things on this channel is something that I never had, and something that's just out here to get you started. So it's awesome. Let's change this text to B. Take the first step. Demento Aviation says, hello. I'm sorry I couldn't read the weird name, but I certainly hope that's not your personal name. Like, it could be the name of your brand, but brand name, that's fine. But if that's your name, I would be confused a lot about a bunch of things. With that said, this is the word that we're using. Take the first step. Shooting Lyrics says it is. It actually is. It actually is. And I'm just still trying to imagine what it would be like if I had a friend with that name. How difficult it would be. We're going to use one of the grays that we've already used before. This needs to be a hint sort of, so you just make this a little bit lighter than the grays that you're used to, and that's just going to be appropriate over here. Reduce the font weight to a very medium, very regular, very, very easy sort of thing, something that you would see all the time. This doesn't need to be a custom width at all. The next thing we're doing is the most important button. Everyone loves signing up with Google. I love signing up with Google, and this is the button that you need to make. This is the button of all buttons. How many of us have signed up with Google? It just saves effort. You don't have to make a password on each site, and it saves so much effort. So I'm just going to add a simple frame over here. Doesn't need to be the fanciest thing. Align it in the center. Add a fill, make it a little bit more gray than everything else, just so you can add a little bit of contrast and visual ability to see where things are. Add a border radius, because of course we're committed to the border radiuses, and since this is the Google button, sign up with Google button, you are going to add a stroke. So stroke is important nowhere but here. This is the place where all strokes need to be. And now we're just going to make this slightly darker than the background, so it doesn't need to be black. Do not make it black. Do not dare make it black. And then it just needs to be a little bit darker, a little bit on the gray side, just a teeny tiny bit, and that's it. Align it perfectly in the center. Just shift this things up above if you need to. And then we're going to add a sign up with Google button. Thing with sign up with Google button is you can't just type sign up with Google and that's it. Google sign up buttons always need a Google sign up logo, which you're going to find on Iconify. Go down to the bottom. Demento says, no, it's just my channel's name. I'm sorry if I can't read your name right now. I'm just juggling with a lot. So thank God that's your channel's name. Don't worry, we were just poking fun. That's what we do on this channel. We're going to search for Google because who doesn't love Google? Except for the competitors of Google who might not like Google that much. We're going to get one of these colored Google images. Don't worry about the coloring and stuff. It's just their brand and what they need to focus on. Wow, my voice with these constant live streams is getting hoarser and hoarser like a weird teenage boy. So I think 30 different live streams from now, if you come and see this live and if you just watch it after a bunch of times, you will find my voice is now the voice of a teenage boy. The first live streams I did, my voice was so nice, and now it's just so hoarse. This is so weird. Change this to continue with Google. I do wonder if I'll change into the voice of a teenage boy for some reason, because wow, live streams will make you scream on a camera, which is weird and something that I'm not used to. Let's change this to a medium, and then we're going to make it a little bit on the darker side, a color that we've already used, maybe a little bit lesser than black, but it can also be black, and that's fine. So the whole join us login section is so important because you are not using a lot of colors, you're juggling with grays and blacks, but also you want to make sure this looks as professional and a little bit better than what's the standard on the internet, for your client and for your own peace of mind. All right, the next thing we're doing is the OR divider. This is a very specific divider right now. So we're just going to create a simple line, and then I'm going to show you the hack for this, the quick hack. Create a simple line. When it becomes red, that means it's a straight line on Figma. And then go over to the bottom, go over to over here, and then add a point over here and add a point over here. So you're just going to add 2 points in the middle. So it just divided into 3 different parts. Go over to your cursor, select the middle part, make it blue, delete it. That's it. We are done. Now you're going to add an or word. So you can just make these a little bit closer if you need to, but I think it's fine. So it's just going to be as it is. Or buttons need to be very, very small in terms of the font size, because you already have these really, really small font sizes, and you want this to be, the or button to be even smaller, which is why just make this as small as you can. 9 is fine. I remember when I was just getting started with computers, and when the computers were just the new thing, I did wonder why in Microsoft Docs everyone was using, like, why the first font size was like 11, because now in documents I'm always 20 and above in terms of font sizes. It's just easier on the eyes, and it's just easier that way. So it's weird why everything was just Arial size 11, if that makes sense, from the pre-UI design days. Alright, now we're going to talk about enter your email address. This is another important section. Speaking of which, brands and absolutely everyone else loves to collect email addresses. If you can execute this button perfectly, you are winning the trust of the client, because trust me, clients focus on the sign up step more than anything else. That is their top priority. You can do wonders in the landing page, but if you don't have this section right, you are going to end up with a disappointed client, which means there is going to be no recurring, which means only bad things. I'm not going to say terrible stuff on camera, but it's you're going to lose the client. Look at me, I just said it. You're going to wow, you are going to lose the client if you don't execute this to perfection. Like, this is email your enter. I was typing email your enter. Look at me, I talk about perfection and then type email your enter. This is the perfect moment to give me your email and also get the world's best 50 color palettes for 2025. veerashrivastava.com, SRIVASTAVA. I know it's a weird spelling, but it is my name, so you'll all have to deal with it, as do I my whole entire life. Which is going to copy and paste this guy at the bottom, and if anyone is on Twitter, just type T once again and I'll give you another interesting Twitter story, because I've been very, very active on Twitter and I have so many Twitter stories I would love to gossip about. Your email address. I feel like in the tech community, we get really, really easy with the word email ID, and in the majority of people who are non-tech, it's easier to just say email address. This is UX writing, which you don't realize is important until you need to. It just happens one day when you're freelancing. It just happens. We're going to reduce this font size once again to 13. Just make this slightly smaller than whatever is at the top. And once that is done, you also need to make this just a little bit more dim, because this is a hint to what you're going to be doing. It's a placeholder. It's a hint. It does not need to be as dark as everything else, if that makes sense. And now we're going to add a simple straight line, because this is the stuff that we're talking about. Now we have a line and we're going to make this a little bit more gray. So with that said, does anyone want to know my cool Twitter story? Or are we just interested in the UI? Because both of those are good news for me. With that said, we're going to make this line the exact same color as this text. Just select this and just zoom in and select this color once again. You can reduce line strokes to less than 1. People don't know that, and it's weird. 0.5 is also a really, really nice option. You can also do decimal points. Never miss that out. Never ever. This stroke and this stroke need to be always the same, because these are two similar looking buttons, and if you don't make them the same stroke, if you don't make this and this the same exact font size, people are going to be freaked out because something is wrong in the UX and they don't realize it yet. Just putting it out there. Alright, the next thing we're doing is adding a call to action button, which is a really, really cool and similar copy of this button. So just copy this button. Money AI asks if I come here live every day. Yes, I do at 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time every single day. That pause that you just witnessed was because we were a little bit late today, but we are here at 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time every single day, which is also 3:30 p.m. GMT if you're outside of India, which is half of you, which is awesome. Let's add a fill over here, which is going to be the exact shade of yellow, which we used for the hero section. This is the gold color in HTML or Figma that we're just committed to. And the color for this is going to be black, not the weird 2E2E gray. So that's the only difference. And lastly, you need to add this line which says, by continuing you are to add terms, something. You always need to add the terms and conditions line, because clients are using cookies, terms and conditions, privacy policies, legal notices, and if you don't add this, people are going to end up in trouble. I'm not sure if it's going to be you. There is a chance, and there is a chance that it's not going to be you. Whatever you do, if you don't add this line, there is going to be trouble, because there's all sorts of things happening with people's emails. So it's just be on the safer side. Why are you getting into trouble? Just copy the word or, because the font size over here and the font size over here is going to be plain and consistent and reused, because both of these are less important than the more important sign up options, but also you need to add them over here. So it's just like that. And I'm just going to urge you to either pause the video, type this out yourself, or I'm just going to copy the and just paste it back there again, because if I paste, I swear to God, people are going to run away. I'm just typing that. If I typed, people would run away, because I am typing really slowly these days. I have no idea why. All right, now we just need to make sure everything that we're working with, every single one of these objects is perfectly aligned along with the shape itself. So we're just going to select them all, group them together, and just align them perfectly in the center. And it's going to make sure the spacing between here and here is exactly equal, spacing here and here is equal. And that becomes helpful when you want to make your thing broader. So if you just ever want to do that, it just actually really helps a lot. We're just going to select this entire thing, add an auto layout, and make sure everything is perfectly aligned in the center, and then just align everything in the center. And check it out. With that, we have done such a great job at making our join us page. You can shift this below if you want to, but other than that, it actually looks awesome. Like, you could send this to a freelance client if you're doing freelance client, and if that's related to you at all, and it would be amazing. Like, that's all you need to do. Where did the word or go? I'm actually horrified by that. Wow, where did the word or go? It's over here. And sometimes this happens, so you're going to just pop this out of your auto layout and adjust it wherever you need to. This is a really interesting, useful step. With that done, check it out. This looks so awesome, so incredible, so complete in itself. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to add what our clients say. Testimonials are a really important part. Testimonials added versus not testimonials added changes the people who sign up by such a huge margin. When you're buying something, you look at the reviews. When your clients are selling something, they want to put their reviews up front so that more people sign up to them. More people sign up to them, more work for you. So you always want to have solid on-point testimonials, if that makes sense. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add another section for our testimonials. Let's just make this section a little bit bigger. Now we're going to create a simple frame. I didn't get the reason why frames were preferred over groups in the beginning, but as you start to make individual sections, as you start freelancing, as you start to divide the workload, this is my testimonial section, this is my login section, this is my slider section, this is my commitment section. As you separate the workload, frame is really the more powerful guy over groups. Even though groups are easier for us to use as designers, when you're doing real world work, frames are going to be the stuff that people want, because if you are a developer, you know you change frames to divs for major HTML guiding, if that makes sense. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the color to a light shade of gray, just so we can have a little bit of consistency, make things more trustable while adding a dulled out background so that the thing in front pops out more. So we're going to use a gray that we've already used on this screen. No need to get a different shade of gray. By this point in this UI, you will already have a ton of grays that you worked with over here. And so you're going to change this to, wow, my voice just went up there. So you're going to change this to any shade of gray that you want. I swear I'm not doing this on purpose. This is the same exact shade of gray that we were working with in the beginning at the top. So whenever you're doing any section that is a little bit big, a little bit hefty, and a little bit space taking, you want to stick with a gray that has a little bit of blue blended in. And if you've been following this from the beginning of today's tutorial, you know why. I've explained this in the beginning. So just bring the video back if you need to. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a title. Just go over to the top. Let's just get this one because it's just simpler. Copy and paste this at the bottom. Wow, what did I just do? This is weird. Someone in the comments says, first part sort mein fir se. I have no idea what you're talking about. Please just rewind the video. It's difficult to understand on stream. Let's change this to say what our clients say. So we're going to change the text to say what our clients say. And here's the thing with consistency in UI design. If you are consistent as a UI designer, you do not need to change the font size, the font colors in every consecutive section. There is going to be automatically a size of title that comes along that is over here, and then you're just going to repeat it over and over again. Got it? What our clients say. Let's align this perfectly in the center and just shift this down a little bit. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make cards. These are custom cards specifically for this use case. These cards are going to have 4 different things: image, text, star rating, text. So we're just going to design it by that principle. Create a simple frame, and then you're going to have 4 different elements: image, text, star, text. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is add a fill, just so we know what we're working with. Add a border radius, because we committed to the border radius in the consistency of today's UI. Consistency is important with luxury UIs. We committed to consistency over here, over here, over here, over here, over here. Every single rectangle that we could have made, including this one, we committed to border radiuses. Border radiuses are a consistent game. Either you add border radiuses to the entire UI wherever you can, or you don't add them at all. It's just brutal truth like that. It's just out there. All right, we're going to make this a little bit smaller, and then we're going to add a simple circle. So just go over here to the ellipse section, create a simple ellipse, and then we're going to add a simple ellipse. Make sure width and height is always equal with the ellipse, because if it's not, it's going to look like a weird oblong circle, weird thing, and people are not going to like it. As UX user perspective, people are not going to like it. Go over to the plugin Lumi, search for it if you don't have it. Search for the word luxury, because who doesn't need luxury? Wow, my voice is going from a teenage boy to a teenage girl. This is awesome. I'm back to where we started. And now we have an image with us. Let's also copy and paste this text. Sometimes it's easier to not make a new text box. When you make a new text box in Figma, go over to the T, type something. Either the font size is not going to be where you want it to be, either the text box vanishes for some people sometimes. So you just bring this to the front by duplicating it, and then there's very little thing that you need to change. Let's reduce the font size back to 24, I want to say, and then we're going to make this auto width, so it's just the thinnest it needs to be. Change this to the name of a client, which for our case is going to be Sophia Johnson. By the way, you guys, if you post your own name, I'll write your own name over here. That's just my open offer. I'm still an adorable person in person. Send me your name and I'll change Sophia Johnson, because I guarantee you, y'all are more interesting than Sophia Johnson. I promise you. Just send me your name and I'll just add it over here. Do it. Come on, do it, or just send me my name. I'll add mine myself, if that makes sense. All right, we'll just add the circle, make this perfectly aligned in the center, and now we need to add a description for the person who is giving us the review. This person is a reputed person, especially on sites. You need a sort of qualification. You don't need qualifications to send reviews on Amazon. Maybe you need to be the buyer, but you need to have a level of qualification when you're putting testimonials. So if your clients give you testimonials by people in a freelance scenario, always ask them, is there any specific title of this person that I need to add? For example, CEO, Travel Lux, or founder, Elite Travels. And CEO and founder, or even project manager, is so much more powerful than this random person who is either my brother or the CEO. You will never know. You always want to be careful of that. All right, we're going to change this to say CEO Travel Lux for some reason. If you guys send me your own names, I'll just write your own names instead of Sophia Johnson and CEO. All right, let's just change this to say Travel. What was that? What was the word? Travel Lux. Travel Lux. Wow, I just forget things sometimes. Change this to say Enter. Reduce the font size back to A14, because obviously we like reduced font sizes. Change the font weight to a medium, and now we're just going to commit to a gray that's harder than the gray in the background, but lighter than the black at the top, if that makes sense. Harder than the gray at the background, but darker, but light. Harder than the gray at the background, but lighter than the gray at the top, if that makes sense. I feel like this is the gray that we're committing to, 888 or 788, and that's just it for me. AA said Arnav, please, let's do Arnav Johnson. Unless you send me your whole name, I'm just going to do Arnav Johnson for some reason, which is weird, but it's fine. All right, CEO Travel Lux. The next thing we're going to do is 5-star reviews, because who doesn't like 5-star reviews on their site? Go down to the bottom, go for Iconify and get a couple of stars. So just search for stars and you're going to find a bunch of stars. I like this star, and we're going to do with stars that are border radius rounded off instead of pointy stars, because when you have rounded stars, you are committing to the border radius rounded theme. So we've already done border radius rounded every single point we could, and so it makes sense to have rounded stars now instead of pointy stars. That's always an edge case you need to have etched in your mind as a UI UX designer. Just copy it, bring it down, and we're going to change this to be a golden star, because of course gold is the color we're committed to. Either press shift while scaling these shapes down, or you're going to have the width and height linked up. And then we're going to change this to a gold, the same exact gold that we've been using in all the call to action buttons over here and over here in our entire video. And now we're just going to copy and duplicate this 5 different times. By the way, you guys, can you just send me another name for the next card that we're doing? Because I would want to use more than one name, and there's more than one person watching this stream. So we at least have 2 different names. You can even send me my name. I'm just okay with anything that comes in the chat now. All right, we'll add an auto layout just so we make sure every single star is aligned perfectly and there is equal amount of spacing, and auto layout just takes care of that for you beautifully. I'm not worried about the positioning internally. We'll get to it. We are just going to copy and paste this, bring this right here, and now we're going to change this to be the review. The only difference between this and this is the font size over here is 2 pixels higher, and the color over here is 2 shades lighter than this black. So if that makes sense, I'm going to show you what I mean by that. We're just going to go down over here to the bottom. Wow, someone sent me my name. Congratulations, I've made the list. Now we're just going to paste it and match our styles, and then we're just going to make this even smaller. Make sure to align text to the left when people are doing a ton of reading, especially in English. You want everything aligned towards the left. Left to right is the way we go. Did you know you could also design UIs for right to left? That's also a possibility for Arabic and all of those sort of languages. Like it's real if you wanted to know. And that web design works a little bit differently than ours. Do you guys want to know anything about right to left designs like the Arabic and Farsi and Urdu sort of scripts? If you do, let me know in the chat. Just say right, and then we'll just do the right to left sort of thing. Just let me know in the chat. Either type right or something of those lines. And we want to make sure that the color we're using over here is slightly less dark than this black. And then we just select this black and then bring it up. So we're just bringing this to 1C, 1C, 1C instead of 000, which is black. And now Janice asks, hello, what are we making today? How was your day, Aditya? I'm going to remove my own name from the list, and I'm going to say Aditya. What we're making today is a luxury 1-page site, which is the perfect portfolio project, especially if you're just getting started with freelance or even looking for a job. And we are having a brilliant day because we're making a great UI. Today is such an awesome stream, you guys. All right, we're just going to bring this down over here, and this text needs to be aligned in a league of its own, sort of in the center. Just bring this down over here, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have created for us, wow, I'm just readjusting it a bunch of times. This needs to be a little bit bigger than what's at the bottom, so we're just going to bring this up by 2 pixels. Let's just bring this up by 1 pixel. This looks fine. 15 pixels is okay. The line height needs to be increased. Sometimes increasing line heights give the appearance of a larger font size. Sometimes making text darker gives the appearance of a larger font size, and that's okay. It's a completely cool visual effect. We're going to copy and paste this one more time. I feel like we just need to do a little bit of more spacing work over here for some reason. Let's just get rid of this guy for a moment, just for a moment. And we need to align with the way things are inside of this UI while we are staying over here. So we're just going to change this to just be aligned perfectly. Make the stars a little bit bigger if you have to. Just change the frame to a group, and then you're just going to make the stars a little bit bigger. Reduce the sizing in the middle if you need to, and increase the sizing of the font. So as I said, fonts need to be 2 pixels bigger than what's over here. Like, you can try and fail, but 2 pixels is what works at the end of the day, like coming from a ton of experience doing this. All right, the next thing we're going to do is copy and paste this card back again. Wow, we don't have one of these internally, so we're just going to select all of these, bring them down, frame this guy, copy and paste it once again. We're going to change the name to say Aditya. If you guys could send me your last name, I'll add it over here. But if you don't, Johnson is who you are. Congratulations. All right, the text is going to change now. I'm just going to pause the video, copy and paste the text. If you guys want to, you can just do it yourself as well. And this is just such minimal styling difference that it's just working and looking pretty at the same time. All right, we're going to go back and we're going to change the text over here as well. With that done, the next thing that we're going to do is make sure everything is aligned perfectly. So this needs to be 287 and 534, 560, and we're just going to make sure this is also 560. With that done, let's just align them perfectly in the center, reduce the spacing that is in the middle, and just align it perfectly in the center once again. Let's just shift this above. Make sure there's plenty of white space, extra space. By the way, white space isn't always white. White space also means extra negative space, but negative space sounds too negative, so people use white space for short. I yesterday posted something about white space on Twitter, and someone got really angry thinking it was actually the color white. It doesn't need to be. White space can be gray. White space can be anything where the text is not present, where the contents, images, other weird icons and elements are not present, if that makes sense. All right, the next section we're doing is the email list. Email list, super duper important. By the way, you can find mine at veerashrivastava.com, and also you can find the 55 different color palettes that are going to take over 2025. Holy special, do not miss them out. The next thing we're going to do is, Janice says, Aditya, Adi, do I know you? I feel like I know you. All right, I'm just not going to get into that because I know a lot of people and it gets weird. So it's just mixed up in my head. Do I know you? Do I know an Aditya? I think I do. I'm just confused at this point. My point is, we're going to make another frame, and this is going to be a really important section because from the point of view of your client, your next client, it is always a good idea to have an email list. Email list is for the people who are either recurring clients to your client, or they're just people who are really interested in what's going on. Every company needs to have one of these, and every company has a lot of advantage from having one of these, which is why making this section as attractive as possible becomes your responsibility, becomes something that the client is going to hold you accountable for, which is why this is the next most important section after this section. So this is the first most important section in terms of priority, and then this becomes the next most important section. And I'm talking about important sections today because when you have a site that is only one single page long, now there is so much pressure on you as the UI UX designer to execute it correctly. All right, we're going to make another frame now. Make this as big as we can. Just align it perfectly in the center, bring it to the top. And we're also going to add a central huge image. So just get that out of the way as quickly as you can. We're going to change this, make this as big as we can. Also, we're going to just go over to the frame. Where did my frame escape? I feel like my frame just gets lost inside of frames, which is so weird. We are going to change our just the stroke for a little while so we know where our frame is. Sometimes you're always going to get rid of the frame stroke. By the way, we're just doing this because everything is white and otherwise it just gets too confusing. We're going to go over here to the background, go back to Lumi, and also we're going to get one of the images. So let's just get for any image that's just luxury. Janice says, glad to know. Thank you so much. What did I just thank you so much to? I have no idea. I have no idea at this point. Just can you clarify what you meant by that, or don't? I'm just too confused at this point. All right, we're just going to shift this up and we're going to get this title, this description, and then this guy over here. Now, I would like to remind you, from the point of view of consistency, you don't always need to make the same thing. Otherwise, you're going to mess up in terms of font sizing, font colors, and mess up your whole entire UI. So we're going to go over to the top, select this guy, copy and paste it, bring it right over here. Only thing we need to change is the font size. So that's just a job that is made easier for you. Let's just go over to the top, copy and paste it, bring this down, and change this to say subscribe to exclusive offers. Subscribe to exclusive offers. Let's just bring this to be a little bit thinner, and also you're going to make sure everything is left aligned now, and the line spacing needs to be auto. So if you want to reset all of the weird line spacing hacks that we did, just go over to auto, and that just changes line spacings for you super duper quickly. I feel like we need to reduce the spacing a little bit, but other than that, even if you don't, in luxury sites, line spacing, especially a lot of line spacing, extra line spacing, will pass on as white space, and everyone will give you a free pass, and you can make mistakes there easily in terms of line spacing in luxury UIs, and you will be fine. So that's a pro tip, that's a UI hack in case you were wondering. It's just that easy. All right, now we're going to add a description. Where have we done this again? We have done it over here at the top. So we're just going to go over here, get a description. The only difference that we were making over here was we were making this description just a little bit thinner when we brought it down to this section. So we're just going to make this a little bit bigger in terms of font size, and also reduce the font weight. Let's just bring this down to a regular, because obviously we need to. Shift this above, and now we're going to change this text, go down to the bottom and change this text to say join our mailing list to blah 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 blah. Like if this was just the boring text of the company, now you're responsible for bringing it in such a way that users still like it. The thing with the login page, the thing with the subscribe section, these are boring for users. So you need to make them interesting for users, because the client who is paying you cares about these sections more than anything, even though they're the most boring sections. So your job as a UI UX designer is to make boring things interesting, and that will give you such a superpower in the real world market. It's just that easy. All right, the next thing we're doing is, what is the next thing? We're doing a button and a call to action input box, which we're going to get from over here. So we're just going to select both of these, bring them down here. Instead of doing them at the top and bottom, we're going to do them at the left and right, and then that's it. So go to the top. What are we doing? We're going to the other screen, and now we're going to go over to the top, select, wow, I can't select things now, can I? Select this and this, copy it, and now bring this down, paste it over here. And just one simple thing that you need to do is just align them over here, and then this is the easy hack to make sure this spacing remains equal when you go from this to this. Hold on over here a moment. Control G, group them together. Change the group to an auto layout, and then that's going to change the group to a frame. Now instead of going down, we're going to go over in this direction, and that's it. Now you can make this as big as you want. Just this big suits us a lot. And now once your word placeholder, your email address lines goes out of the screen, you're going to go over to the top of your auto layout. So just go over to the top of this guy, and just basically you need to add an auto layout firstly over here. And you know what, even without an auto layout, you're just fine. You can just remove this manually, and then it just eliminates the need overall. Like it's both of those ways are completely fine. Once that is done, we are now almost done with this entire section. So just select one of these and select them over and over again, align them in this direction, shift the image if you need to, just so everything is perfectly aligned. If things look weird, it's almost always happening because these buttons aren't equal in width with the text, and that always needs to be. So you're just going to select a bunch of these by pressing shift, align them in the right side, align this text over here, and with that done, we're going to get rid of this stroke. That's it. Now we have successfully made a successful join the email list option that actually looks beautiful. Shift this down, maybe shift it above, because having a lot of space between these two gives us a really hard responsibility, which is to make sure the spacing between all of these is more than what it is between one single heading. So this heading needs to have lesser space in between as opposed to these two and these two, if that makes sense. And that is the real UI design challenge, you guys. Would you guys like to see the one masterclass on this channel about luxury UIs? So if you're just going into the freelance market looking to get luxury products, product UIs, because there is a lot of money in that market, not going to lie. Would you like to see a dedicated crash course talking about everything you need to know before going into that whole market? Would you guys want to know that? Because I'm so happy to make that video. You have no idea. Type yes in the chat if you want to see that dedicated video, and also subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed, because of course you need to. The next thing we're going to do is design our footer. Today's footer is really interesting. It is entirely modern. It is something that's just really awesome. It's something that's really in your face. You have a call to action line ending the whole entire thing. You have a sitemap, every single link that the user needs to go back to, which is what's going to be interesting for today. Janice and AA both say yes. Thank you so much for that. We will make a video on that really soon. So just subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications for all videos if you haven't yet. Just letting you know in case the video comes out and you miss it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to reduce the final size of our frame down to the footer only, because now we don't need to make it a huge size, if that makes sense. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create and increase the size over here. So we're just going to go over here and increase this size to as much as we can. This is our footer now. And in case you need to, you're also going to add a little bit of a stroke, because wow, my Figma is lagging today, because this is the size, this is the frame, this is the element where you need to insert your footer. Now we're going to add a title and description slightly smaller than this title and description as a final goodbye to our user. This is going to say, let's create together, collaborate with us for this. This is going to give the final message to our final user. So this is just really important. Goodbye in the site. Getting your goodbyes right in sites, getting your footers right in sites is so important, especially in the luxury brand, because you want people to come over there again. Sometimes the thing you're offering in luxury is the experience, and when there is a brand of that sort paying you to make their site, you need to be a part of that brand, you need to be a part of that experience, deliver it on the website. You just need to. That's just the fact. Let's create together. The only difference between this and this is this needs to be smaller in font sizes by a whole lot. Let's bring this down to 48. Align this perfectly over here. Change this text to say, collaborate with us, something. The only difference that we need to make is reducing the font size back over to 16, going to the bottom, copying this text, and you can just pause the video and paste this and just type this out yourself if you want to. And we're just going to align this over here. If you guys don't want to type this text out yourself, just go to ChatGPT, put in the prompt of the site that we're making, put in the name of the section. So for example, I'm making a luxury one-page UI. Give me the description for the footer and then copy a couple of the sentences. That will make your life so much easier, you guys. The next thing we're doing is the most important goodbye element ever. This is our site map. So it needs to have a couple of different things. Link group 1, travel packages. Link group 2, luxury escapes. Link group 3, contact. And all of these link groups need to be similar. All of these link groups need to have the correct link going back to wherever we need to send them back to. All right, so we're just going to go over here, and I feel like I see this all the time in every single big site today, every single huge MNC big brand site today, and this is going to be travel packages. So the first thing that you need to know for these site maps is the title is smaller than the description. This is so weird. Let that sink in for a moment. Titles for these site maps are almost always smaller than the description, just like the title for this was smaller than the content. Reason being, this content is far more important than the title. Even if you got rid of the title, this would still be a huge chunk of value, which is why these title links are always smaller, less dark in terms of color, less prominent than all of these links. So we need to make that clear in the beginning. Let's change this to say travel packages. And I'm also going to use Figma variables today. So this is going to be, reusable text chains today. So this is going to be important in terms of advanced Figma as well. Travel packages. And since this is going to be reused over and over again, we need to make sure we get it right, and then we get it right once, and then we reuse it over and over again. Watch this carefully. Change this to say medium. Reduce the font size back to 14, then you can make this a little bit on the semi-bold if you need to, and then make the color a little bit lighter, if that makes sense. Just a little bit lighter, teeny tiny bit. This is now our header for our site map. We're going to add a little bit of a styling, and then we're going to make sure this is permanent by clicking on apply styles. Typography styles is what we're doing now. Click on this button and then add a style, and then have it say sitemap title. That's it. And then we're going to do one for description. So just copy and paste this once again. Get rid of this styling. Click on this button, we'll get rid of the styling. And then we're going to change this to say tropical getaway. Tropical getaway. This font size is more important than our title. As I just said, it needs to be darker in color. It needs to be of a bigger font size. It needs to be a little less thin because you're trying to highlight the actual contents and not make it fade away with the heading. So this can be 18 pixels even if you need it to be. Like it can be all of those things. Even sometimes this becomes a case, you can use variable font axes if you're not comfortable with the things that are already going on over here. So I feel like 540 would be a much better stopping point. I'm going to change this to 540, and that is going to be the sitemap bottom description text for us. Add apply styles, say sitemap, wow. sitemap link, and then that's going to be the link that we're working with over here. So we're just going to say sitemap link. And once we've done this, we're going to copy and paste this a bunch of times. So we're just going to do 3 or 4 of these all the time. And then we're just going to select the bunch of these, just press shift and select all of them at once, group them together, add an auto layout, make sure it goes downwards, increase the spacing, I'm just speed running through things now. Change the width to hug contents, and now we're going to change our actual contents. So just go over here and just copy and paste the stuff that you need to. I want to read Janice's comment next, but I do need to get this done as well. Just paste it here and match styles. Paste here, match style is such a friend when you just want to change the text and not the styling. Sometimes the styling, the exact consistent styling is difficult to get right, which is why you need to make sure you paste and match style instead of directly pasting like you would in Microsoft Excel or Docs or stuff like that. Alright, reduce the size in the middle, and then you're going to select this text group and then this title, and then group them together, and also make an auto layout because these are the standard. Just increase the spacing in between. These are the reusable components that we're going to reuse over and over again. And I also wanted to pick on Figma assets a little bit. So now that we create an asset out of this, it is going to be really usable, really on the advanced side of Figma. Create a component out of this now. And now we're going to reuse this 3 different times and do it super duper quickly. So one of the components that we have in this file is this one. We're going to add this over here and then add another one over here. And this will make my design job so much simpler, you guys. This is where Figma becomes magic. Luxury escapes is the next word. So just go over here to the bottom. Boom. You know what? Let me just close this now. Boom. Go back. Boom. And just make sure to paste and match styles. So I feel like if you ever mismatch the styles, you're just going to go over here and click on sitemap title, and you're going to go back to the way you were, if that makes sense. This color is 9.7 and we don't want to mess that up. You could add a color style if you wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. Same process, just follow it again. And then I'm going to show you how quick this actually becomes. Copy, and then you're going to go back and paste it here and match our styles. Once again, you're going to copy, let's do project 5 for some reason, and then right click and paste and match styles. Copy and then paste and match style. So simple, such an easy way to do things, especially if you're just getting started. Control Shift V, I think, is the way to just paste them, or Control Up V. Mail and Contra and LinkedIn. So let's just type those out really quickly. Mail. Just this is how consistency is delivered in a real world scenario. Contra and LinkedIn. And I feel like if you had messed up if you've done each of these individually, it would be so difficult, because all of these as individuals are 9 different text boxes, all of which you need to get down to the pixel correctly, all of which are the goodbye to a luxury client. You do not want to mess this up. It is going to land you in weird UX designer trouble, because people don't know what's going on, and then stuff becomes confusing for them, if that makes sense. All right, this width needs to be hug contents for all of these guys. So just change the widths to be hug contents, and that will make your life so much easier with the auto layouts, because if it's hug contents, it's only taking the amount of space it needs to, and then auto layouts are actually effective in terms of the spacing. This looks incredible, you guys. Let's just get rid of all of this stroke, and with that we are done with our luxury 1-page UI design. I highly encourage you to make this, add this to your portfolio. Let's talk about prototyping for a little while. Let's just close all of the other screens. As long as you change this prototype to be MacBook Air Silver, this is going to be very easy to present. You can also add a couple of these links. For example, let's say this first section was about commitments. I do want to do the navigation prototyping for a little while. So this is going to be who we are, and this is really important for luxury UIs, you guys. Let's just make sure everything is capitalized so it looks nice and easy on the eyes. Make sure this takes up auto width, and then this is our link. So we're going to add an interaction of triggering on click navigate to, or instead of navigate to, you're going to scroll to, because you're going to a different section. This is why we created all of these frames. Let's just rename all of these sections. So I just want to know what the name of the section is. This is called a group, which is, you know what, let's just call this group 18. Just remember the name when you're prototyping. On click, scroll to group 18, and then that's just going to happen. And animation has to be animate. It has to be gentle, because we're doing a gentle thing, and then you're just going to do this for all of the sections. You're going to say for the slider, this is going to be unmatched experience. Let's just change this text to say experience, and this is just prototyping. stuff that you really do not want to miss. Let's just change this to say prototype, and then we're going to add another interaction. Trigger is on click, and then you're going to change this to say scroll to, and then you're going to go back to our destination, which is unmatched experience in this case. So let's just bring this to unmatched experience. Scroll is going to be animate, scroll setting is going to be gentle, if that's the one we were using before. The next is going to be sign up. We're going to change this text to say sign up. Just prototype them automatically. Sign up. Wow, I made the P capital, which is bad for us. And also sign up is what we're doing over here. So this button also needs to have a sign up, which is going to go over here. So just add an interaction of on click, scroll to the next frame, which is what frame are we talking about? When you hover over these frames, you see a blue outline, by the way. So this is going to be frame 10 for us. And then it's going to animate with the setting of gentle. And I'm just going to do this quickly now. This also needs to have the same interaction. This is going to scroll to frame 10, by the way, and it's going to be animating at gentle. And also we're going to do a couple of these more, which is going to be testimonials. This is such an important part of getting any successful site right, instead of just this random portfolio thing. And then we're going to change this to say newsletter. And then we're also going to change this to say sitemap, because at the footer we are providing a sitemap. It wasn't just the footer, it was the sitemap. If you just say sitemap and connect, you know what, sitemap is fine. You can also make sure over here that the spacing between, press alt to see this red lines, by the way, spacing between this and this, and spacing between this and this is equal. So if the spacing between this and this is 32, you're going to make sure the spacing between this and this is 32. Just press on your arrow key and shift this to make sure it's 32 as well. All right, the next thing we're going to do is go over to the testimonials and select this, and now we're going to go over and scroll over to this section. This is going to be having the same exact settings, and then we're going to go back to our newsletter section, give it the exact same settings as the section, and then finally, you guys, this is the moment we have all been waiting for, the final click of scroll. Let's just link this over here. Check it out. It looks awesome. Now we're going to prototype this. Actually click on this button, and this is the site that we've actually made. This is the site who we are, experience, sign up, everything. If you aren't aware of that, just make sure the prototype says MacBook Pro, MacBook Air Silver 1, and then click on triangle, and that's just going to start your animation cycle for you. While this is loading, I want to read the comments. Can we also use small title and bold and large body and blood donation system, because message is more important than title? Small title, bold and large body, I feel like blood, donate blood is a huge chunk of text, or be generous is a huge chunk of text, which is the smaller amount of text, but it needs to be more relevant. It's more emotion driven than anything. So I feel like you would want to have a higher priority, bigger title, bigger, bolder title, if you would. Just putting it out there. Let's test our prototyping. Are you ready? Because I am. Who we are is this section. Look at how smooth that was. This is so smooth. Experience is this section. This looks awesome. This is amazing. It just scrolls so smoothly, and it's goddamn amazing. Click on the sign up button. This looks perfect. How awesome is this? Like, if you like what we're doing here, just like this video, you guys. Say this is amazing. Just type A in the chat. I'll know it's amazing. You'll know it's amazing. Click on the testimonial section. This looks amazing. How incredible is this? I'm not even touching this screen now. I'm just going to show you this one last time. Click on this button. My hands are up, and it just looks amazing. How awesome is that? The sitemap, finally, let's just click this button, and this is so awesome. Let's also check what happens when we click on our call to action button. Look at that. So incredible. You could also do this with these guys, but I feel like that's just up to you as a homework assignment. You could also change these sections to navigate to all of these sections as well. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, that was our designing a complete luxury one-page website live. With that said, if you guys want to check out the 50 most incredible UI design color palettes for 2025, it is a wholly special limited edition running on veerasrivastava.com, VERASRIVASTAVA. Can someone type that on chat? I will. Hold on a moment. You know what? Can the admin take care of that? We're just going to share with you the link of the best color palettes going on right now. You can get them entirely for free. We already got it from Ramesh. Wow. This is okay. All right. So just sign up over there really, really quickly. And do it even if you're just not looking for color palettes, because I swear to you, this is a decision you will not regret. There are also 5 extra Easter eggs that you can come back and put on this channel, and we'll just pin the whole link comments as well, because we have gotten a couple of comments. With that said, thank you so much for joining me live. I will see you again tomorrow 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time or 3:30 p.m. GMT.